again.
It's not on.
It will be soon.
Didn't get sure. You get the cord. You got the cord?
Yeah, we did.
Yes,
Let's
we
see
did.
them.
We know the words.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
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 Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari
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 Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jai Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari
Jaya Gopi Jana
Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Madhava Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna
Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare Rama, Hare Rama,
Rama Rama,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Pri Vradgachad Stotra Satta Sri Shimad His Divine Grace Hiraboy Charanarvind Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Skandiviti Founder Acharyas Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada Ki Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Samaveta Bhakti Vrinda Ki Harinama Sankirtana Ki Grantaraj Bhagavatam Ki Jainitai Gaura Pimanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and to Sri Gauranga. All glories to Sri Prabhupada Ki. Om Agyanatimirandasya Gyananjana Sarakaya Chakshurinmilitam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manovistam Sapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikum Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nityanamine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Sunyavadi Pasyatya Deshatarine Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. 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 Om Surabhyai Namah. 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 Mukham karoti vachalam pangum langayate girim yat kripatamaham bande Sri Gurum Dinataranam Yat kripatamaham bande Sri Gurum Dinataranam. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
One of the few temples that has a beautiful and large clock at the right place. Congratulations. I mean, very often it's like, I need to know till what time approximately? 7. What time is it?
6:30. 6:30.
Okay, short and sweet, eh? So first of all, welcome to all the devotees who are here, and it's my pleasure and honor and privilege to be here again, visiting, although for a very short time. Both Jaidev and myself, for the last quite a few months, have been traveling to different countries, actually. It's part of a global initiative to sensitize and, I guess, create or bring awareness to as many devotees as possible and to as many temples and people in general, I suppose, whoever we meet, about this most important aspect of Srila Prabhupada's mission. The success of a disciple and the success of a follower is how well one is able to understand, to actually realize the mission of the present Acharya, our present Acharya, founder Acharya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, Srila Prabhupada, is actually carrying a most important mission. And the devotees here in Sarangati have a very special, we could say, mandate. I mean, all of us have the mandate to carry out, to understand that mission, and the more we understand it, to carry out that mission, which is, of course, in relation to what many people, and possibly many devotees as well, are not really fully understanding, or at least not to the extent that they should. And of course, for those who haven't guessed already, I'm talking about the 50% of Prabhupada's mission. We need to remind ourselves that there is still that 50% of Prabhupada's mission, which is, of course, establishing Daiva Varnashrama. I sent about 1 month back a box of books that actually deal, and I've sent to different countries actually. It is Jaydev Prabhu, maybe you can unwrap this. It's called Make Vrindavan Villages. And of course, it's kind of like I'm preaching to the choir, you know. We are in a village. This is called, specifically registered as Sarangati Village Incorporated, right? And and I know that, yes, many of our devotees here, I mean, I'm sure all of you are here in connection with that aspect of Srila Prabhupada's mission. That's the main reason, actually, probably 10 years back, I'm not sure exactly, when I'm actually proud when I travel to different countries. I'm actually proud, rightly proud, most of the time we're wrongly or falsely proud. I'm rightly proud to actually share with people, I'm actually a villager. I'm connected with Sarangati village, which is true. I'm a shareholder, like many of you, if not most of you. And what we fail up to this day within our ISKCON society, what we fail to understand is that the vast majority of our devotees, obviously they cannot become shareholders of Sarangati village, but the vast majority of our devotees are meant to be villagers. Why? Because actually, at some point in the early days of our movement, in one sense, we can actually say we missed the boat. I was mentioning to Balakrishna Prabhu, welcome to our guests, special guests. Yes, thank you. There's an expression that I'm sure many of you have heard. It's called, I have to be careful here, not to get into hot water, but it's called mission drift. Mission drift. Drifting away from the mission. There are two books, two books and kind of a pamphlet, I suppose. But the first book I want to introduce, which actually speaks about, quite clearly, about what could be defined or understood as mission drift, is this book speaking about Varnashrama, which has been around actually for a number of years. It was published. As a matter of fact, it was commissioned by the GBC. The research on the subject matter, community development, was actually enacted by the GBC way back, actually just before Srila Prabhupada's centennial. Srila Prabhupada's centennial we celebrated in 1996. Correct, right? We're on the same page here. And just maybe 1 or 2 years before that, there was a group of devotees who were commissioned to actually research. And they immediately, and they explained this in the introduction of this book, they immediately understood that we can't do justice to the topic of community development unless we speak about Varnashram. Because Varnashram is that system, not just an ordinary system, it is that perfect system, as described actually in Bhagavatam, created by Krishna to facilitate community development, isn't it? And therefore, wherever I go, this book actually, by the mercy of one devotee, I've not yet met. I will be within a couple of weeks when I cross over to the States. His name is Baninath. Some of you may know him. Baninath, he's been the president in different temples in the US, and it's quite interesting actually, because most of his life as a devotee, Varnashram didn't really mean anything special. He was explaining how a few years ago, I mean just maybe 3 or 4 years at the most, he was getting interested in the topic of leadership. And leadership, we were talking about leadership this morning in the Bhagavatam class, or in the seminar. Leadership is like essential. I mean, for any organization, for any community, for any nation. And within our Vedic culture, the training for such leaders is like the primary activity, or the primary focus, we could say, training from early age, not only training Brahmanas, but training Kshatriyas, isn't it? The 3 natural leaders being Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, and also Vaishyas. So he took interest in Kshatriya, in leadership, and then he came across some important statements in Mahabharata. Because in Mahabharata, we're discussing on this point also, grandfather Bhishma Dev is one of the foremost acharyas, not only in dharma in general, but specifically regarding leadership, Kshatriya leadership. And so he kind of like, we could say, a little bit like I did about 25 years ago. It took me 25 years to begin understanding somewhat the importance of varnashram. And this devotee, Vaninath, he kind of clicked on this idea of, leadership means Kshatriyas. And so he immediately discovered this book. He thought this book was no longer being published, and he made arrangements to actually have it available. And I'm happy to inform you today, in case you may not know, and probably you don't, this book is now available on Amazon due to Vaninath Prabhu's efforts, which is great, It's also, he made it available in digital form. So, in other words, no one really has any excuse not to have this book. It's available
Who's the author?
The author is this group of devotees, and it's 100% Prabhupada quotes, but nicely divided historically, when Prabhupada, whenever he spoke on the subject matter of varnashram. That's why it's so important, because it's completely Prabhupada. And in the seminars I've been giving, the last seminar, which will be day after tomorrow, is entitled, where to start or what to do. A little bit like we were discussing a little earlier. And Vaninath Prabhu mentions that one of the most important aspects, or where to begin, is to just hear and understand what our founder Acharya has to say about the subject matter, isn't it? It's like, Prabhupada explained, Vedanta Sutra is described as the end of all knowledge, and the best way to understand Vedanta Sutra is by the author, Srila Vyasadeva, through the commentary he has made, which is the Bhagavatam, and that's why the Bhagavatam is the authorized commentation or commentary on the Vedanta Sutra, which of course is giving us the ultimate in terms of knowledge. And of course in the Bhagavatam, as we should know, there are so many references, many of which of course are in this book here. So more recently, actually in the month of May, just like 3 months ago, I published this book, which is a compilation of 5 seminars. I first gave these 5 seminars in New Mayapur, but not the New Mayapur most of you may know, which is in French. There's another New Mayapur in Ukraine, which is a community also. And they invited me, actually, it was on the occasion of Nityananda Prabhu's appearance, which this year fell on the 31st of January. And I gave a series of 5 seminars. So these are now in this book form, and it's kind of nicely illustrated with pictures, but especially different quotes from Srila Prabhupada. So I know many devotees, even before becoming part of this community, although I've never lived in the community for a long period of time. I've been coming, and as part of our philosophy, sannyasis are meant to travel and preach at some particular point, and it may not be too long away. I mean, when you cross the age of 80, as I have a few months ago, you start having different realizations about things, isn't it? So I know that there are many of my godbrothers and godsisters here in Sarangati especially, who have been here for decades, and with the whole intent and idea of, developing Sarangati village. And, all communities have their ups and downs. And in Kali Yuga, maybe we have more downs than ups. In any event, there's great hope for all of these communities to actually develop in the manner and in the way that Srila Prabhupada, intended and wanted. And we continue to have this great responsibility. I would say one of the most important responsibilities within our society is to materialize, is to actually go from jnanam to vijnanam, from simply having theoretical knowledge to actually practically living. One of the important instructions, which is given by Narada Muni actually in the 7th canto, where Narada Muni is actually dealing, and you come across this important verse from the 11th chapter where he begins his whole presentation on Varnashrama, actually, when speaking to Yudhishthira Maharaj. Dharma mulam hi bhagavan sarva vedamayo harihi smritam cha tadvidam rajan yena chatma prasidati. It connects with the verse that is more, let's say, well known in the first canto of the Bhagavatam. Savai pumsam paro dharmo jato bhakti radhok sajeya hai tukiya pratihata. The last line is the same, yena chatma prasidati. In order to fully, completely fulfill and satisfy the material needs, the emotional needs, mental, social, and spiritual needs, we need to focus on the full, complete understanding of dharma. Of course, in the first canto, the main focus especially is on bhakti, because that is the param dharma. In the 7th canto, within the context of Varnashrama discussions, which is what Yudhishthira Maharaj requested Narada Muni to speak about, so many wonderful and essential instructions are there actually for householders, and this particular verse I quoted is touching on this aspect of not only the spiritual dimension of dharma, which is of course bhakti, devotional service, but also touching on the material aspect of dharma, which is a main theme. The first presentation I gave a few days back, the very first of 5 concepts which we are yet to, I would say, master or to understand properly, is how for our mission, for the Krishna consciousness mission, for Krishna's mission, ultimately, to succeed, our devotees need to gain a much more, more clear and deeper understanding of dharma. And therefore, dharma in 2 main features, I would say equally important. As a matter of fact, the first one, which is Varnashrama dharma, in many ways, Prabhupada has very clearly and many times explained how we can more easily, more quickly realize and understand and come to the level of spiritual sadharma, which is bhakti, devotional service, by implementing. That's another important quote actually in the 9th chapter of the 1st canto. How many have done their Bhakti Shastri? Don't be shy, raise your hand. Okay. Now you will recall, hopefully, it's Kali Yuga, you may not, In the 9th chapter, it is dealing with Grandfather Bhishma Dev's departure. He's on his bed of arrows, and Krishna, as we know, although there are great personalities like Shukadeva Goswami, Narada Muni is also there, but Krishna chooses Grandfather Bhishma Dev, isn't it, to actually instruct Yudhishthira Maharaj, because he was feeling so morose after the battle of Kurukshetra. And the very first instruction he gives to him is verse 26 of chapter 9, is that, my dear Yudhishthira Maharaj, now you're taking up the responsibility of not only a king, but actually the emperor of the whole world. Make sure that you are following the system of Varna and Ashram. That in itself is very significant. Of course, he continues for weeks on end, isn't it, to speak so many amazing things, give so much of amazing instructions. In that purport to the verse, Prabhupada makes, when I read it actually, it's kind of like, sometimes we read something and it just hits home, so to speak. In the very first line, Prabhupada explains how Krishna created the system of Varna and Ashrama in order to accelerate the development of our spiritual qualities. Means in order to more quickly, to accelerate the process of becoming Krishna conscious, this system, Krishna's material system that we call Varnashrama, is there for that purpose. So in other words, and that is summarized later on actually, again, from Grandfather Bhishma Dev. He explains, he talks about, and this is one of the, we won't cover that. Tomorrow actually we're covering the Chaturvidya, which is the means by which to recreate or reestablish communities, and especially villages. And in that context, Grandfather Bhishma Dev speaks about something which is, today in modern day society, totally unknown. And largely within our ISKCON or devotee communities, it is also not properly understood. And that has to do with what Grandfather Bhishma Dev coins or describes as the 3 gifts of nature. And to me this is like, it should be for all of us because it's coming from Grandfather Bhishma Dev, the 3 gifts of nature, whereby in Vrindavan village is that example where the residents of Vrindavan, not only do they demonstrate the highest realm of transcendence, all of the different rasas are fully manifest, fully lived to the highest level in Vrindavan, but parallel to that, and that we generally don't even understand, at least not sufficiently, parallel to that, the activities of the residents of Vrindavan are directly connected with these 3 gifts of nature, which are the first gift of nature being Mother Cow. Mother Cow is actually the foundation and the center, is like at the heart of Vedic culture. Because Vedic culture is especially to be found in villages. As a matter of fact, it is only in villages that the full spectrum, the complete spectrum of the Vedic culture can be lived and realized. Not that there are no cities, but there are Vedic cities, but the vast majority of people are meant to live. And that is not only, for people who lived like hundreds of years ago or 5,000 years ago, as Krishna demonstrated in Vrindavan. Even just quite recently, that was the norm and the standard. And I'll just finish on this point because I'd like to leave a few minutes for possible comments or questions. And by the way, before I forget it also, I have some copies that devotees can take. This is connection with doctoral research that is dealing with the subject matter also. It's like a synopsis on the subject matter of actually Vedic sociology, because we are actually, Varnashram means Vedic sociology. So these are three aspects which all of us, especially all the devotees who are part of Sarangati village, need to, I would say, meditate upon more. And that verse I was quoting, Smritam cha, Dharma mulam hi Bhagavan, that's the point, one of the main points in that verse, that Smriti means to remember. And Narada Muni is reminding us that our duty and responsibility as devotees is to keep in the forefront, to always try to bring our consciousness back to what is the main goal and purpose of Krishna's mission and of Srila Prabhupada's mission. And it is, we could say, summarized very nicely. Prabhupada often quoted this verse, Janma sartak kari kora para upakar. Bharata bhumi te uhelam manusya janmajad, that very famous verse. So we have the responsibility individually, all of us, to cultivate Krishna consciousness, and simultaneously we have the responsibility to perform what is called pada upakar. And establishing Varnashrama Dharma is very much part of that pada upakar, basically.
You mean welfare work?
Yes. Prabhupada mentions in one lecture, anyone who is a social worker by nature should become a Hare Krishna devotee, to showing the real mission. Yeah, the real wealth, the highest welfare work is to give Krishna consciousness. And to give Krishna consciousness means to also give and facilitate and enable and train individuals in the whole system of Varna and Ashrama. Prabhupada practically equates, in some purports in the Bhagavatam, actually equates Krishna consciousness to Varnashrama. He also equates Sanatan Dharma to Varnashrama, because Varnashrama, we should try to understand, is also an eternal system. It's Krishna's eternal system. I mean, the Bhagavad Gita is our eternal teachings, isn't it? And within that, and within the Bhagavatam, the whole presentation and importance of Varnashrama is mentioned. We have a little less than 10 minutes. I'll stop here. And your father had his hand up first. And he's older than and because you forgot him, boo on you.
Well, you mentioned three gifts. Being the cow.
Cows.
What are the other two?
Exactly, that was my question.
Okay. I stopped after, I just wanted to know how attentive you were. Cows, lamb is the second, and the third is knowledge. Cultivation of knowledge. These three are mothers, and we are all meant to be nourished by these three mothers. And that forms, or that is actually the economic basis for Vedic communities, for villages, isn't it? And, Prabhupada, in so many places in this book, in both, speak about Varnashram and this book, Make Vrindavan Villages, again and again. I mean, that's one of the four sciences. It's called Varta, the science of economics. And it is based on the verse 1844, Krishi Gorakshavanijam Vaisha Karma Swabhavajam. So in other words, our mandate is not only to make our community, Sarangati village, a successful and ideal model. That's our goal, actually, but actually is to introduce that all over the world, because modern society is totally going in the wrong direction. It's, as Prabhupada in many places mentions, it's totally destroying. I mean, Prabhupada uses the word killing civilization. modern day society is a killing civilization. Within the educational system, economically, on all levels, we're destroying the planet, as we all know as well. So there's a real urgency as well for all of us to understand how even more vital than 50 years ago. I mean, Prabhupada considered it urgent at that time. He said, immediately in all of our centers, establish a Varnashram college to facilitate and help our devotees understand and be trained in the different sciences that make up our Vedic culture. We'll take some other comments or questions if there are any. I only have 4 of these books left. I've handed some to a few devotees here. We'll try to get more books delivered later on. But yeah, yes.
Okay. That was a very good, thorough exposition or introduction to Varnashram. Now, Prabhupada recruited us to join him in saving the world through the Sankirtan movement.
Yes.
Lord Chaitanya's benediction and plan for saving mankind. And so, but the Sankirtan movement has a broad meaning also. It means engaging all abilities and all facilities and all everything.
Yes.
In the service of Krishna. So, can you give a little comment how the Sankirtan purpose is all best or well served through the Varnashram promotion?
Yes. Okay, well, one thing which, again, probably because this particular essay has not been published, I'm referring to Gita Nagari, published in 1956, Back to Godhead magazine. Prabhupada speaks about, and this is very important, I consider this like essential for every single devotee to know this, and the majority of them have not even read, or some devotees don't even know about this essay, Gita Nagari. So Prabhupada speaks about 4 phases. I'm using the very words that Prabhupada used. He called the first of these 4 phases Sankirtan movement. In that context, and there's not only Gita Nagari essay, but 7 years before that there is, in 1949, a letter referring to the same terminology and an explanation that I'll try to briefly, yes?
But isn't the Sankirtan movement the all-encompassing goal? That's the purpose.
Yes and no. Yes and no. If you can kindly give me a chance to present the 4, what Prabhupada has presented as 4 specific phases. I totally agree with you. Sankirtan means everything. You know, we are part of the Sankirtan movement.
Centered on Krishna.
Yeah, but in the context that Prabhupada presented this, the points he wanted to make, because Prabhupada, as a visionary, he spelled it out actually in that essay. That's the point I'm trying to make. The first movement refers specifically to the holy name and transcendental books. Prabhupada is referring, when he says Sankirtan movement, in that context, refers to introducing the holy name as a Yudharma, as we know, and also transcendental literatures, isn't it? Brihat Mridanga, right? Second phase, Prabhupada called it a temple worship movement. We already have Brihat. Yeah. Temple worship movement, second phase, establishing temples. Just keep in mind what Prabhupada did. He followed this actually by opening 108 temples during that 12-year period that he preached. So temple worship movement is a name that Prabhupada gave for the second movement. The third, Prabhupada called it spiritual initiation movement. Training, educating, what we call today, what we have, the ministry for congregational preaching, isn't it? Bring people up, have them committed to the mission, so much so that they want to be part of the family, and that's generally done by diksha, by initiation, right? The fourth movement, Prabhupada gave the name classless society, referring not that there are no divisions, referring to the 4 varnas and 4 ashramas being classless in the following sense, that every member of every varna and every ashram is focused on serving Krishna, is focused on bhakti, on devotional service. So in that sense, all members, whether one is a brahmana or shudra in terms of activity, will be able to develop the consciousness of a paramahamsa, will be able to become a pure devotee. So that is why, beginning with Bhaktivinoda Thakur, the word daiva has been added before varnashrama. Daiva specifically, we talked about this morning, Daiva Varnashrama Dharma means that Varnashrama Dharma where the members understand that bhakti is the activity to attain the goal, which is developing our love for Krishna. Anything less than that falls in the category of Asuric Varnashrama.
The karma kanda.
Yeah, different levels, etc. like that. So, yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
But you're completely right. Sankirtan means the whole thing, but in that particular context, Prabhupada kind of gave that division. Thank you all very much for being attentive. Jai Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki. Gaur Pimanandi. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Thank you. And Jaidev has some of these books here. If anyone wants, you can